Meridian vessel shuddered violently as another blast struck its hull. Commander Vrix Andromeda gripped the edge of the tactical display, her knuckles white beneath olive skin. Earth's first interstellar mission wasn't supposed to end like this. Hull breach on Deck C. Shields at 14%. Lieutenant Caden Frost's voice remained steady despite the chaos erupting around him. Commander Andromeda's eyes narrowed on the main view screen, where three sleek obsidian craft, far more advanced than anything humanity had ever built, moved with predatory precision around the crippled Meridian. "They're not responding to any communication attempts," Science Officer Reiko Takahashi reported, frantically working her console. All standard protocols failed. 3 hours earlier, humanity had celebrated its greatest achievement. The Meridian, Earth's first faster-than-light vessel, had successfully navigated the quantum fold to reach Proxima Centauri. The crew of 12 represented Earth's finest, scientists, explorers, and military specialists united under the banner of discovery. Then the unknown vessels appeared. No warnings, no attempts at communication, just immediate, devastating attacks that crippled the Meridian's primary systems. "Commander," called Navigation Officer Ilara Voss, her synthetic eye implant glowing faintly as she processed incoming data. "I've plotted an emergency fold route back to Sol, but we need to divert remaining power from life support." Andromeda calculated their options silently. "How long can we survive?" 19 minutes of breathable atmosphere. The fold will take 18. A grim smile crossed Andromeda's face. "Cutting it close. We won't make it." Engineer Darius Solikov shouted from the back of the bridge, blood streaking down his weathered face from a gash above his eye. "The fold drive capacitors are damaged. We'd need at least 5 minutes of uninterrupted charging." Another impact rocked the ship, throwing several crew members to the floor. The lights flickered ominously. "Then we give them something else to shoot at," Andromeda decided, her voice like steel. "Prepare the research probes, launch them in all directions, full sensor packages, emergency beacons active." Understanding dawned on Frost's face. "They'll appear as escape vessels on their scanners." "Exactly. And while they're busy hunting ghosts, we charge the fold drive." Officer Takahashi spoke up, her voice barely audible. "Commander, we need to document this, in case we don't make it back." Andromeda nodded solemnly. "Record everything. The galaxy needs to know what happened here." As the crew rushed to implement the desperate plan, Andromeda activated the ship's log recorder. "This is Commander Vrix Andromeda of the Earth vessel Meridian. We came in peace. We were met with unprovoked aggression. To any humans who find this message, we were attacked by an advanced species at Proxima Centauri. Their technology surpasses ours. Their intentions are hostile." She paused, watching as the alien vessels continued their ruthless approach. "But they've made a critical error. They've revealed themselves as enemies before understanding what humanity truly is, before learning what we're capable of when threatened." The ship trembled as the probes launched, scattering like metallic seeds across the void. Almost immediately, the alien vessels broke formation, pursuing the decoys. "Fold drive charging," Solikov reported. 4 minutes to minimum threshold. Andromeda's eyes never left the screen as she continued her recording. "They think they've cornered us. They think we're finished. But they don't understand human resolve. They don't know that throughout our bloody history we've never faced a threat we couldn't eventually overcome." She straightened her uniform with dignity. "If we survive, we'll return with warning and preparation. If we don't, then let this record serve as humanity's notice. We will not go quietly. We will not surrender our rightful place among the stars." The alien vessels began to realize their mistake, turning back toward the Meridian. 1 minute to fold capability," Solikov announced. Andromeda gripped the command chair arms. "All power to shields. We just need 60 more seconds." As the alien vessels closed in for the kill, humanity prepared to make its desperate escape, carrying with them the most important discovery in history. They were not alone in the universe, and their cosmic neighbors were anything but friendly. Admiral Orion Nguyen stood motionless before the massive view screen in Earth Defense Command headquarters, his weathered face illuminated by the stark glow of sensor data. Around him, the command center hummed with controlled panic as the Meridian's emergency transmission played for the 5th consecutive time. They think they've cornered us. They think we're finished. But they don't understand human resolve. The recording cut to static, then resumed with a violent visual of alien vessels firing upon the Meridian before the feed terminated completely. 72 hours had passed since the Meridian's desperate transmission reached Earth. 72 hours of escalating global tension as governments worldwide absorbed the implications. Humanity's first contact had ended in an unprovoked attack. Confirmation from Deep Space Arrays, announced Strategic Officer Imani Okafor, her voice tight with professional restraint. The quantum signature matching Meridian's fold drive was detected at the edge of our solar system approximately 9 hours ago. Admiral Nguyen's eyes narrowed. Location? Near Neptune's orbit, sir. But the signature disappeared almost immediately. Defense Minister Layla Kwan stepped forward, her crisp uniform at odds with her sleepless appearance. They made it back to our system but couldn't complete the journey. Or they were followed, Nguyen countered grimly. Initialize Defense Protocol Aegis. I want every orbital platform on high alert. The room erupted into coordinated activity. Humanity had spent decades debating whether alien life existed. Now they had their answer, and less than a day to prepare for potential interstellar war. In a secure chamber 3 levels below, Dr. Malik Rivera studied the alien vessel's design with growing concern. As Earth's leading xenotechnology theorist, he'd been immediately summoned from his research facility in New Andes. They're not just advanced, he explained to the assembled military leadership. These craft operate on principles we've barely begun to theorize. The energy readings from their weapon systems alone suggest technology centuries beyond our own. General Cassandra Velez, commander of Earth's orbital defense grid, spoke the question everyone feared. Can we fight them? Dr. Rivera hesitated. Not conventionally, no. The silence that followed was deafening. Then we don't fight conventionally, came a new voice. All heads turned as President Helena Zhao entered the chamber flanked by security. Despite the crisis, she moved with measured confidence. Madam President, Admiral Nguyen acknowledged with a sharp nod. The Security Council has reviewed all available options, she announced. While the Meridian's fate remains uncertain, we must proceed under worst-case assumptions. Hostile alien forces may be approaching Earth, and their technological superiority is overwhelming. She moved to the central display, examining the alien vessel schematics. Dr. Rivera, your assessment may be correct regarding their technological advantage, but humanity possesses something that transcends technology. Her eyes swept the room. Our history is written by underdogs who prevailed against impossible odds. Our greatest achievements came when our backs were against the wall. The tension in the room shifted subtly, fear giving way to determination. Implement Operation Phoenix, she ordered. All space-capable nations will pool resources. Every shipyard, every laboratory, every strategic mind will be devoted to a single purpose, transforming our defensive capabilities. The timeline is impossible, General Velez protested. Then change the definition of possible, President Zhao replied sharply. Humanity just discovered we're not alone, and our neighbors are hostile. There is no higher priority. As the meeting dispersed with renewed purpose, Admiral Nguyen lingered beside the president. The Meridian, ma'am. We should send search vessels. President Zhao nodded slowly. Already authorized, but quietly. If they survived and are hiding, then a rescue attempt might reveal their position, Nguyen finished. The president's communicator chimed urgently. Her security chief leaned in, whispering something that drained the color from her face. Deep Space Arrays have detected multiple fold signatures entering the solar system, she announced. Not ours. Humanity's preparation time had just run out. The derelict mining outpost on Triton's dark side had never been intended for long-term habitation. Its cramped corridors and minimal life support systems had been designed for rotating crews of 4. Now it sheltered the 7 surviving members of the Meridian's 12-person crew, all of them injured, all of them exhausted. Commander Vrix. Andromeda applied the last med patch to Engineer Solokov's radiation burns, her own hands trembling from fatigue and oxygen deprivation. "That should stabilize you until we can get proper medical attention," she said, her voice hoarse from breathing the thin, recycled air. "If we get proper medical attention," Solokov muttered, wincing as the patch's nanomedicines began their work. The emergency fold jump had been partially successful. They'd reached the Sol system but materialized near Neptune instead of Earth. With critical systems failing and alien pursuers likely behind them, Andromeda had made the difficult decision to go dark, powering down all non-essential systems and hiding in Triton's shadow. Lieutenant Frost entered the cramped common area, ducking beneath exposed conduits. "Commander, we've rigged the emergency transmitter as you ordered. Short burst, highly directional. Earth won't detect it unless they're specifically scanning this sector. And if they're not?" asked Science Officer Takahashi, who sat nearby, splinting her broken wrist with salvaged materials. "Then we conserve resources and try again tomorrow," Andromeda replied with quiet authority. "We have supplies for 21 days if we maintain minimal exertion." Navigation Officer Voss looked up from her diagnostic tablet. "The fold drive is beyond repair with what we have here. We're stranded unless rescue comes." An uncomfortable silence settled over the group. They'd escaped immediate death only to face a slower one if Earth didn't find them, or worse if their alien pursuers did first. Why did they attack us? Medical Officer Petra Ivanova finally voiced the question that had haunted them all. "We posed no threat. We transmitted nothing but standard greeting protocols." Takahashi's expression darkened. "I've been analyzing the sensor data we gathered. Their response wasn't random aggression, it was methodical. Almost practiced." "What are you suggesting?" Frost asked. "I believe they've done this before," she explained. "Their attack pattern showed no hesitation, no assessment period. They identified us as a newly spacefaring species and immediately moved to eliminate us. Cosmic exterminators," Solokov muttered grimly. Andromeda considered this theory. "If you're right, Earth needs this information immediately. It changes everything about how we respond." She moved to the outpost's single viewport, gazing at Neptune's distant blue crescent. Somewhere beyond it lay Earth, unaware of the approaching danger, unprepared for what was coming. "We're transmitting again in an hour," she decided. "Full data package this time, not just a distress call." "That increases our detection risk," Frost warned. "A risk we have to take," Andromeda countered. "Earth's defense strategy will depend entirely on understanding what we're facing." As the crew prepared the transmission, Officer Voss approached Andromeda privately. "Commander, there's something else you should know," she said, her voice low. "During our fold jump, I detected multiple other vessels entering our system, using the same quantum signature as our attackers." Andromeda's blood ran cold. "How many?" "At least 7, possibly more." "So they're already here," Andromeda whispered, the full weight of the situation pressing down on her shoulders. "A scouting party attacks us, and when we escape, they call in the extermination fleet." Voss nodded grimly. "It appears that way." Andromeda squared her shoulders, decision made. "Prepare the outpost's small maintenance craft. If we can't transmit safely, I'll deliver the information personally." "That shuttle barely has life support for one person," Frost objected, overhearing their conversation. "Then I go alone," Andromeda stated firmly. "The rest of you maintain position here." Medical Officer Ivanova stepped forward. "With respect, Commander, Earth needs more than just data. They need someone who's faced these beings and survived. Someone who understands what we're truly up against." Andromeda looked around at her surviving crew, injured, exhausted, but unbroken. Each face reflected the same resolute determination. These weren't just Earth's finest scientists and explorers. They were witnesses to humanity's first interstellar threat, and perhaps its last hope. The emergency council chamber beneath Geneva hummed with tension as holographic displays showed alien vessels systematically establishing positions throughout the solar system. 7 ships had been confirmed, each one positioning itself near a strategically valuable planet or moon. They're creating a containment perimeter, General Velas explained, manipulating the tactical display. Classic encirclement strategy. They're preparing to isolate Earth completely. Admiral Nguyen studied the formation with a veteran's eye. No immediate attack on Earth itself. Interesting. They're assessing us, Dr. Rivera suggested. Learning our capabilities before committing to a full assault. President Zhao's expression remained carefully neutral as she absorbed the implications. How long before they complete their deployment? At current speeds, approximately 36 hours, General Velez replied. The diplomatic contingent, led by United Nations Secretary Adira Kiyoshi, shifted uncomfortably. We should attempt communication again. Perhaps the Meridian encounter was a misunderstanding. 17 attempted communications on all known frequencies, Admiral Nguyen countered. No response. They're not here to talk. The chamber doors parted unexpectedly as Defense Minister Kwan entered with a security team. Madam President, we've intercepted a transmission from Triton. It's the Meridian survivors. The room erupted in surprised murmurs as Minister Kwan transferred the data to the main display. Commander Andromeda's haggard face appeared, her message brief but urgent. Earth Defense Command, this is Commander Andromeda. 7 Meridian crew members survived. We're hiding on Triton, critical intelligence to report. These beings are systematic eliminators of emerging spacefaring civilizations. They've done this before, and they follow a predictable pattern. First containment, then assessment, then extinction. We have limited time. Requesting immediate extraction. President Zhao turned to Admiral Nguyen. How quickly can we reach them? Any conventional rescue attempt would be detected. He replied grimly. We'd lead the aliens right to them and reveal our own capabilities. In the process. Then we need an unconventional approach, Dr. Rivera interjected. All eyes turned to the scientist. I've been analyzing the sensor data from the Meridian encounter. There's something peculiar about how these aliens track our technology. He manipulated the display, highlighting energy signatures. They detect quantum signatures from our fold technology with exceptional accuracy, but they seem less attuned to more primitive propulsion methods. What are you suggesting? General Velez asked. Send an old-style chemical rocket, Rivera proposed. Gutted of modern technology, running on pre-computer mechanical systems, virtually invisible to their advanced sensors because it's so technologically backwards. It's the equivalent of trying to find a stone axe using a quantum scanner. They're looking for the wrong signatures. Admiral Nguyen considered the idea. We'd need volunteers, a one-way mission until the survivors could be retrieved. I'll go, came a voice from the back of the room. Colonel Axel Donovan, commander of Earth's Experimental Aerospace Division, stepped forward. My team has been training on replicated historical spacecraft for the museum exhibition next year. We know how to fly these dinosaurs. President Zhao nodded slowly. Prepare your team, Colonel, but understand this isn't just about rescuing survivors. Those 7 people have faced our enemy directly. Their first-hand knowledge might be our only advantage. As the meeting dispersed to implement the rescue operation, Dr. Rivera approached the president privately. Madam President, there's something else you should know. I've been analyzing the positioning of the alien vessels. They're not just containing us, they're setting up something far more comprehensive. He displayed a new holographic model. These positions correspond exactly with gravitational focal points in our solar system. If they activate weapons from these precise locations, they could trigger a cascading effect, President Zhao finished, understanding dawning in her eyes. Destabilizing the entire system. Not just destroying Earth, Rivera confirmed grimly, but rendering the entire solar system uninhabitable. President Zhao absorbed this devastating possibility. How long until they're in final position? 18 hours, Rivera replied. After that, they could potentially trigger the sequence at any time. The president straightened, decision made. Then we have 18 hours to implement humanity's response, assemble our best minds. If we can't match their technology, we'll find another way. As she strode from the chamber, an aide approached with urgent news. Colonel Donovan's rescue craft was ready, a refurbished Saturn-era rocket, stripped of modern technology and filled with nothing but courage and primitive ingenuity. Earth's desperate gambit was about to begin. Colonel Axel Donovan gripped the retrofitted manual controls of the Artemis rescue craft as it approached Triton's shadowed surface. The journey had taken 3 days, painfully slow by modern standards, but the primitive chemical rocket had performed its most important function, remaining invisible to alien detection. Beginning final approach, he announced to his co-pilot, Major Zoya Petrov. Neptune's magnetic field should provide additional masking. Assuming the aliens don't have eyes, Petrov muttered, scanning the darkness nervously. The antiquated craft shuddered as they descended, guided only by passive sensors and visual confirmation. Modern navigation systems had been removed to minimize detection risk. There, Donovan pointed to a faint infrared signature barely visible against Triton's frozen landscape. The mining outpost. As they landed near the derelict facility, Commander Andromeda's team was already waiting in salvaged environmental suits. The survivors boarded quickly, strapping into acceleration couches not used in spacecraft for decades. 7 of you, as promised, Donovan noted as he sealed the airlock. We lost 5 in the initial attack, Andromeda replied grimly. Lieutenant Frost didn't make it to Triton. Radiation exposure during our escape. Donovan nodded solemnly as he returned to the controls. We have limited acceleration capacity. Return journey will take at least 4 days. Earth may not have 4 days, Andromeda warned, joining him in the cockpit. Have they begun positioning? At the gravitational focal points? Donovan's head snapped toward her in surprise. How did you? Science Officer Takahashi identified the pattern from our sensor data, she explained. It's how they operate, systematic extinction via gravitational disruption. Then you've confirmed Rivera's theory, Donovan muttered, initiating the launch sequence. Earth is mobilizing everything we have, but without understanding their technology. That's why we need to get back immediately, Takahashi interrupted, floating into the cockpit compartment. I've discovered something critical about their technology, something that changes everything. As the Artemis craft lifted from Triton's surface, Takahashi explained her discovery to the astonished rescue team. They're not using technology centuries beyond ours, she revealed, displaying analysis on her salvage datapad. They're using our own technology against us, modified versions of principles we've already developed. That's impossible, Petrov objected. Their capabilities far exceed anything Earth has produced. Because they've optimized what we've only theorized, Takahashi countered. Their quantum signatures matched our full drive exactly, too exactly. Their weapon systems operate on principles identical to our theoretical models. Commander Andromeda's expression darkened with understanding. They stole our research. More than that, Takahashi continued. Based on the data patterns, I believe they've been monitoring Earth's scientific development for decades, possibly longer, harvesting our theoretical research, then implementing it before we could. The implications stunned everyone in the cockpit. They're technological parasites, Engineer Solikov realized, joining the discussion. They don't innovate. They steal innovation from emerging civilizations, then eliminate the source before it can become competition. That's why they attacked immediately after our first full jump, Andromeda added. We'd finally developed the technology they'd stolen, proving we were advancing too quickly. Donovan processed this revelation as he navigated away from Triton. If you're right, this changes our entire strategic approach. Exactly, Takahashi agreed. Their technology isn't incomprehensible. It's our own technology, weaponized against us, which means we already understand its fundamental principles, and potentially its vulnerabilities, Andromeda concluded. As the Artemis craft accelerated toward Earth, they established a secure channel to Defense Command. Admiral Nguyen's holographic figure appeared, his expression grim. Colonel, status. Report. Survivors recovered, sir. But more importantly, we have critical intelligence about the enemy's technological capabilities. The survivors quickly relayed their discovery. Admiral Nguyen's expression transformed from grim resignation to focused determination. "This changes everything," he acknowledged. "We've been approaching this as if fighting a superior force, but if they're using derivatives of our own technology, then we know how to fight them," Andromeda finished, "because we know how our own technology works, including its limitations." Admiral Nguyen nodded sharply. "Get back as quickly as possible. Earth has less than 12 hours before they complete positioning." As the transmission ended, Donovan turned to the Meridian survivors. 12 hours until they can trigger gravitational collapse. 4 days until we reach Earth. "Then we need to accelerate our timeline," Andromeda decided. "Major Petrov, how close would we need to be for a tight beam quantum transmission to reach Earth undetected?" "At least within Venus's orbit," Petrov calculated. "But that's still 2 days away at our current speed." Commander Andromeda's eyes gleamed with the same resolve that had saved her crew at Proxima Centauri. "Then we find another way to send the message," she declared. "Because humanity isn't just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting for justice against thieves who've stolen our future and used it against us." As the primitive spacecraft continued its journey homeward, Earth's defenders prepared for their final stand. Armed with a revelation that transformed the alien invaders from godlike beings into something far more vulnerable. Plagiarists facing their unwitting creators. The alien command vessel hovered in perfect geosynchronous position above the Atlantic Ocean, its obsidian surface absorbing rather than reflecting sunlight. Inside its control center, the being identified as Nexus Prime observed Earth's pitiful defensive preparations with something approximating amusement. 67 previous civilizations had fallen to their extinction protocol. This one would be no different. "Final positioning achieved," reported its subordinate Nexus Secondary. "All vessels have reached optimal gravitational focal points. Harmonic resonance charging at 78%. Curious that they've made no significant defensive moves," Nexus Prime noted. Its thoughts transmitted directly through the ship's neural interface. Previous species typically attempted at least one desperate attack. "Perhaps they recognize the futility of resistance," Secondary suggested. "Perhaps." Prime wasn't convinced. Something about these humans disturbed the collective consciousness. They'd shown unexpected resourcefulness at Proxima Centauri, the first species in 17 cycles to escape first contact alive. A priority alert flashed through the neural network. "Anomaly detected," announced Secondary. "Primitive chemical. Propulsion vessel approaching from outer system." Prime accessed the sensor data directly. "Irrelevant. Pre-spacefaring technology. No threat to the protocol." As the Nexus entities returned their focus to the extinction sequence, they remained unaware of the true purpose of the approaching chemical rocket and the transmission it had launched moments earlier. In Earth Defense Command, President Zhao and Admiral Nguyen watched as Dr. Rivera applied the final modifications to Earth's orbital defense grid. "Commander Andromeda's transmission confirmed our hypothesis," Rivera explained, his fingers flying across the control interface. "They're using quantum resonance technology based on our own theoretical models, the same principles we developed, but never implemented because of stability concerns. Concerns they evidently ignored," Admiral Nguyen noted grimly. "Which gives us our opening," Rivera replied. "Their position at the gravitational focal points works only if those positions remain stable. Their entire attack depends on precise gravitational mathematics." President Zhao understood immediately. "So we change the math." "Exactly," Rivera confirmed. "We can't match their weapons technology, but we don't need to. We just need to disrupt their positioning by altering the gravitational landscape they're relying on." On the main display, a simulation showed Earth's hastily modified defense satellites moving into carefully calculated positions. Not to attack the alien vessels, but to create an entirely new gravitational field matrix throughout the solar system. "Every operational satellite has been reprogrammed," General Velez reported. "Lunar mass drivers are in position. We're ready on your command." President Zhao took a deep breath, aware she was about to authorize humanity's most audacious gambit. "Proceed," she ordered. Aboard the alien command vessel, chaos erupted through the neural network. Gravitational anomalies detected across all focal points. Secondary reported urgently. Resonance harmonics destabilizing. Nexus Prime accessed the sensor. Grid directly, its consciousness recoiling at the unexpected development. Thousands of small human satellites were simultaneously generating focused gravitational fields, creating an entirely new gravitational topology throughout the solar system. Impossible, Prime transmitted. Their technology is insufficient for gravitational manipulation. Yet they are doing it, Secondary countered. Harmonic resonance failing. Protocol collapse imminent. Prime directed its attention to the human satellites. Their design was primitive, almost crude. They shouldn't be capable of generating gravitational fields of this magnitude. Unless they're not generating the fields, Prime realized too late. They're reflecting them, using our own gravitational emissions against us. The elegant simplicity of the human counterattack became suddenly, devastatingly clear. They had positioned simple reflective arrays at precisely calculated angles, creating a solar system-wide hall of mirrors for the aliens' own gravitational technology. Disengage the protocol, Prime commanded. Reposition immediately. But the gravitational feedback loop had already begun. Each alien vessel, perfectly positioned at what had been gravitational focal points, now found itself trapped in a cascading resonance wave of its own creation. On Earth's command center displays, Admiral Nguyen watched as the alien vessels began to destabilize. It's working, he breathed, almost afraid to believe it. Their own technology is creating a feedback loop through our reflector grid. Dr. Rivera nodded, his expression grim but satisfied. Poetic justice. They stole our theoretical research without understanding why we never implemented it. The quantum resonance technology they're using is fundamentally unstable when reflected back upon itself, a flaw we identified in our original research. A flaw they never corrected, President Zhao concluded, because they stole the formula without understanding the theory behind it. On the displays, the first alien vessel imploded, collapsing into itself as its gravitational manipulation technology turned inward. One by one, the others followed, not destroyed by human weapons, but by their own stolen technology reflected back upon them. As Commander Andromeda's rescue craft finally approached Earth 3 days later, she stood in the cockpit alongside Colonel Donovan, watching the cleanup operations around the remains of the alien vessels. 7 ships, she observed quietly. 7 ships nearly ended humanity. And would have, Donovan acknowledged, if not for your crew's discovery about their technology. Andromeda shook her head slowly. They were never superior beings, just thieves and bullies who underestimated their victims. As Earth grew larger in their viewport, Andromeda thought about the 67 civilizations that had fallen before humanity faced this threat. Species who perhaps hadn't possessed the unique human combination of theoretical innovation, practical caution, and sheer stubborn resolve that had saved Earth. We should recover what we can from their vessels, she suggested. Not to use their technology, we've seen the danger in that approach, but to understand it, to learn from their mistakes. Donovan nodded in agreement as they prepared for atmospheric entry. And perhaps someday, to find those other 67 worlds. To see if anything remains that might be preserved or honored. As the spacecraft descended toward a changed Earth, an Earth now aware of both cosmic threats and its own remarkable capacity to overcome them, Andromeda felt a profound certainty that humanity's journey among the stars had only just begun. And this time, they would proceed with both wisdom and resolve, carrying forward not just their own legacy, but perhaps the legacy of 67 silenced civilizations whose stories deserved to be remembered. The parasites had sought to eliminate a perceived threat. Instead, they had awakened humanity's greatest strength, the capacity to face impossible odds with innovation, cooperation, and an unbreakable resolve that would now carry Earth's children to the stars, not as conquerors or thieves, but as the inheritors of a solemn responsibility to ensure no other emerging civilization would face extinction alone.